Now, I'm going to give you some great ideas, and I'm going to give them to you in 3 or 4 sections, but I want to first of all ask you a question. And the question is, who is the most important person in this audience? Well, the answer is that you are the most important person in this audience. You are the most important person in your entire world. How do we know? Well, you spend 99% of your time thinking about yourself. So you are the most important person. But here's the point. How important you feel you are determines the entire quality of your life. When you feel that you're important and valuable, when you like yourself and respect yourself, you set bigger goals for yourself, you persist longer, you accomplish more. And more than anything else, the more you like yourself, the happier you are. The more you like yourself, the more you like other people, and the more they like you. So everything in life, and this was a great insight for me as a young man, everything in life can be measured by whether or not it increases your happiness. The only real measure in life is how happy are you. It's not how much money you earn, or it's not the car you drive, but are you a thoroughly happy person? So I began studying this subject early in my career, and I was amazed to find that your self-esteem is like the reactor core of a nuclear generator. It's the reactor core of your emotions, and your self-esteem determines the entire quality of your life. So say these words. Say, I like myself. Now, so when you say this to yourself throughout the day, every time you say it, you smile, and it makes you happy. And when you feel happy, you treat other people better, and you're more happy, and you're more successful. So I began studying the subject, and what I found is that the other side of self-esteem is a feeling of personal power. When you feel powerful, when you feel confident, when you feel that you can set and achieve your goals, when you feel that you can be successful, then your self-esteem goes up, and your self-image improves, and you feel happy about yourself. And so this feeling of personal power comes from the things you do and the way you do it. And I'm going to give you a series of steps that you can take to dramatically increase your sense of personal power. Now, the more powerful you feel, the more you like yourself. The more you like yourself, the more self-confidence you have. The more self-confidence you have, the bigger goals you set, and the more you persist, and the more that you achieve. And everything starts with what's happening inside of yourself. So here's an interesting question. Which comes first, the thought or the emotion? Well, when I first learned this, I was quite amazed that it's always the thought. It's the thought that comes first, and it's the way that you interpret this thought to yourself that determines the emotion. If something happens and you interpret it in a positive way, you feel happy. If something happens and you interpret it in a negative way, you feel negative. Now, the reason I say this is that because today in Russia we are going through an interesting time. There's a Chinese curse that says, may you live in interesting times. And we're living in interesting times. For the last 3 or 4 days, I've been traveling around Russia speaking on crisis management, crisis intervention, because many people are saying that we have a crisis. But in Chinese, they have a characteristic, and the characteristic that means crisis also means opportunity. So today, we have one of the greatest opportunities in human history. More people are going to earn more money and live better lives in the future in Russia than has ever been possible in all of human history. Yes, there are problems. The economy will go up and down as it has for hundreds of years, but there are more possibilities and opportunities for you in the future than have ever existed before. However, they will be different than the opportunities of the past. Many people are so busy watching what happened in the past, they don't realize that the real opportunities are in the future. Now, here's a lesson that I learned, is never worry about things that you cannot change. And you cannot change a past event. There are many things in our world that we cannot change. So don't waste any time worrying about things you can't change. Focus on the things that you can change. And the only thing that you can control is the way you think. If you think differently, you feel and you act differently. If you feel and act differently, you get different results and you achieve different goals. So you'll find that top people throughout history are always focusing on the opportunities of tomorrow. whereas average people are always thinking about the problems of the past. All the psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors in the world are helping people talk about their past and what happened in the past and why they feel unhappy about the past. But you can't change the past. The only thing you can do with the past is learn from it and then let it go. So you learn from the past and let it go, and then you turn toward the future. There's a wonderful line, and the line says that when you turn toward the sunshine, the shadows fall behind you. When you look toward the future and all the possibilities for your life in the future, you automatically become happy. The negative events of the past that you can't control fall behind you. And that is your job. Now, I've spoken on this subject all over the world, but there is a characteristic of top people. You are in the top 10%. And why do I say that? It's because statistically, only the top 10% of adults will ever come to a seminar like this. Only the top 10%. The other 90% in their entire lives will never come to a seminar like this. Many of you have had to sacrifice time, you've had to pay money, you've had to suffer inconvenience, you've had to wait a long time, but you are here. And that means that you are either in the top 10% or you intend to be in the future because you're here. And the things that you're going to learn from me and from the other speakers in the next 2 days are some of the greatest ideas that you can use to create a wonderful future for yourself. And remember, the only thing in the world you can control is your own thinking. And if you control your own thinking, the way you think about events, you control how you feel and how you act and the future of your life. So one of the questions that we ask is, what is the most valuable and highest paid work that you do? And when I first heard this question, I didn't know the answer, but then I learned that the highest and most valuable work you do is thinking. And the reason this is so important is because of the word consequences. When I began studying time management many years ago and began writing books and articles, I came across this word, consequences. And it changed my life. What it said is that the consequences of an event determine whether or not it's valuable or unimportant. So therefore, if an event or an action has great potential consequences, it's important. And if something you do has low or no potential consequences, it's not important. So what is the difference between top people and bottom people? You've heard of the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule says that in every society, 20% of the people earn 80% of the money. It also says that in every industry, 20% of the companies earn 80% of the profits. Now this is true worldwide, and it's been true for hundreds of years. So in your society, our society, you have a choice. Do you want to be in the top 20% or do you want to be in the bottom 80%? Now everybody starts off in the bottom 80%, and then they either make a decision to be in the top 20% or they do not make that decision. And it's one of the most important decisions you make in terms of consequences. So something is important if it has big potential consequences. Something is unimportant if it has low or no potential consequences. How many people here would like to double their income? All right. If I could show you a simple way to double your income, would you give it a try? Dice da. All right. So I'm going to give you a very simple technique to double your income. Now, if you increase your productivity and your performance and your output by 25% per year, you will double your income in 3 years. Now that means 2% per month. If you become 2% more productive or better at your work every month, that's 25% per year. That's double your income in 3 years. However, once you do it, you can do it again. And you can double your income again and again. And the highest paid people in our society increase their income 10, 20, 30% each year because they're constantly becoming more productive. So here's a very simple technique, and I will give you 7 more. Very simple technique. Imagine that there's 2 types of work that you do. There's work that we will call work number 1, all right? And this work is work that has big potential consequences. If you do this and you do it well, it makes a big difference in your life and your family and everything else. The other type of work you do are what we call number two work, and this work has no potential consequences. So the first category of work moves you toward your most important goals faster than anything else. This other type of work does not move you towards your goals, and even worse, it moves you away from your goals. All the examples of time that you waste doing things of no value. So here's a simple way to become one of the highest paid and most productive people in society is do only number one tasks. Do only those things that are moving you every day toward the goals that you say you want to achieve. You want to earn more money, be happier, be healthier, move up in your business, have a nice house and a car, travel. Only do those things all day long. If you only do those things, the things that have great potential consequences, it transforms your life. Now here's another discovery. 95% of what you do comes from habit. And if you do something repeatedly over and over again, what do you develop? You develop a new habit. So what is the difference between people in the top 20% and people in the bottom 80%? And I've studied this for years. People in the top 20% have success habits, and people in the bottom 80% do not have those habits. So you can learn the habits of highly successful people. You can learn the habits of highly paid people. You can learn the habits of people who get into the top 10% and into the top 20%. And you can learn them with practice, because all habits are learnable. All skills are learnable. There is no limit to what you can accomplish if you just simply dedicate yourself to developing the habits of other successful people. When I was a young man, I came across a statistic that you've seen. It said that the average person only uses about 10% of their potential, and the other 90% is left unused throughout their lifetime. Well, recent research shows that that statistic is not true. The average person only uses about 2% of their potential, and the other 98% is stored like treasure buried in the ground, and it's never used. And what do people use their 2% for? Well, they use it mostly for conversation at work and with their friends. They use it for messaging and tweeting. They use it for watching television. Average person watches a screen, 3 to 5 hours per day. Is they're watching a screen of some kind, whether it's a computer or an iPhone or an iPad or a television. And most of what they're watching is in category 2. It's completely irrelevant and unimportant. It makes no difference in their lives at all. But whatever you do over and over again becomes a habit. So today we have an entire generation of people who have the habit of watching screens all the time. And as a result, their lives go very, very slowly. So therefore, you have to ask yourself, is this a good use of my time? Does this work have tremendous consequences for me? So when I came to studying thinking, I said, what is the activity that has the greatest potential consequences for you in your life? And the answer is thinking, because the quality of your thinking determines the quality of your actions. The quality of your actions determines the quality of your results. And in life, everything is results. Now, whatever age you're at, if you look at other people who are successful, there's one quality that successful people have, and that's that they get a lot of results. They are known by everybody as the people who get the most results. They're extremely result-oriented. They think about results all the time. What is the characteristic of unhappy and unsuccessful people? Is they waste most of their time. What do people at work waste most of their time in? They waste it talking to their friends. When they go to work in the morning, they don't go to work, they go and find somebody to talk to. I have noticed that the work day in Russia is from about 8 o'clock in the morning until about 5 o'clock at night. However, when I drive in the traffic, by 3:30 in the afternoon, the roads are full of cars. Why is that? Because everybody who gets off work at 5 o'clock is actually going home early so they can watch television. And they're going home early so that they can get ahead of the traffic. So most time at work is wasted. So I'll give you another technique to transform your life. It's when you go to work all the time. When you go to work, when you start first thing in the morning, just work all day and don't do anything but your work. If somebody wants to talk to you, you say, yes, but not now. Let's talk after work. Or let's talk on the weekend. But right now, I have to do my work. And eventually people will stop talking to you. And you will accomplish 2 or 3 times as much each day if you just go to work and start work and work all day long. If you just develop the habit of working all day, you will produce twice as much, you'll be paid twice as much, you'll be promoted twice as fast. And this is true all over the world, no matter what the situation. By the way, I said that this is a great time of opportunity in Russia. Do you know that most of the most successful businesses were started at the bottom of a recession? Most of the most successful careers, including mine, were started at the bottom of a recession. That what happens in a recession is that you are forced to think much better than before. You're forced to make much better decisions. You're forced to make much better actions. You're forced to focus more intently on the activities that have the greatest consequences. And as a result, times of great difficulty are also times of great opportunity for you and for me, because you can grow faster and become stronger today than has ever been possible, perhaps in your lifetime. So don't complain about the difficulties of today, because first of all, we can't do anything about it. And second of all, look into them for the advantages or benefits that they might have for you for the future. Now, here's a second question for you. And I ask this question all the time because when I first heard it, I didn't know the answer. The question is, what is your most valuable financial asset? And when I first heard that, I thought, well, it's my house or my car or my bank account. No, your most valuable financial asset is your earning ability. It's your ability to earn money. Your earning ability is like an oil well that just keeps gushing oil. So your earning ability is the most powerful and most valuable financial asset you have. And your earning ability, by definition, is your ability to get results that people will pay you for. Now, this doesn't mean that you are not a valuable person. Each human being is of incredible value. But some people's earning ability is much higher than others. And your earning ability is an asset, so it can be either increasing in value or decreasing in value. Now, here's what they found in the studies. The 80-20 rule. They found that the bottom 80% of people, the ones who struggle for money and worry about money all their lives, these people, when they take their first job, will work to a certain level, and then they will level off and never improve for the rest of their lives, unless they're forced to. And so therefore, 10 years after starting work, the average person today is no more productive at getting results than they were after 1 year. But they find that the people in the top 20% are very different. The people in the bottom 80% increase their income about 2 or 3% per year over the years. People in the top 20% increase their income at an average of about 11% per year. If your income goes up 11% per year, you will double your income every 6 or 7 years. And then you will double it again, and then you'll double it again, and soon you'll live in a beautiful house, and you'll drive a nice car, and you'll send your children to private schools, and you'll have a nice bank account, and you'll be happy. But if you don't keep increasing your income, nothing good will happen. Now, what is the difference? The answer is the people in the bottom 80% don't learn anymore after they leave school. But the people in the top 20% are always learning new things. And as a result, they are increasing their earning ability. Now, one of my favorite statistics is the measurement of the highest paid people in America. And by the way, these statistics are true in almost every country. They looked at the 500 top executives of the 500 biggest companies. And every year they do this calculation. They find that last year the average person earns about $10 million. Now, this person started off at the beginning, at their first job, with no earning ability, no ability to get results at all. And then somehow today, their companies are willingly paying them $10 million to come to work. What has happened? Well, the average top executive earns 257 times the average pay of the person in their company. 257 times. We're not talking about twice as much or 3 times as much. We're talking about 257 times. Some top executives earn 300 and 400 times the amount paid to the average person in their company. How can this happen? Well, here's what they discovered. Every year, and many people here are in this situation, every year about 1.5% of the population starts work for the first time. They take their first job as adults. And so it's like a big marathon. It's a big race, and everyone lines up, and then the gun goes off, bang, and everybody starts to run. And then, just like a marathon, some people get way ahead, in this case, in the earnings race. The great majority stay in the middle, and some people fall well behind. So they just finished a 25-year study, which I think is one of the great studies on success that's ever been done. They asked, how is it that these people can be earning so much money in paycheck? They're receiving a pay of almost $1 million a month for going to work. And if they lost their job, for any reason, another company would hire them immediately and pay them $10 million a year. How can this happen? So, these researchers at a major university went back and they said, well, these people must be very intelligent. They must have special gifts. They must have special qualities or talents that could enable them to be so successful in life. So they went back and looked at their school records and the records at their first job and their second job. And you know what they found? These people were just average. Even when they started off their work life, they didn't look any different from anyone else. They were just average. But then they all started to practice a single strategy. And this is the strategy that will change your life and your career forever. And it's so simple, you can't believe it. When these people took their first job, the first thing they would do is they would go to their boss and they would say, boss, I want to make a valuable contribution in this work, and I want to be successful in this company. What one skill would help me the most to be more successful, to make a more valuable contribution? And the boss would say, well, if you were very good at this, negotiating or team building or selling or reading financial statements, if you were really good at this, then you would be much more valuable than an average person. So they would say, okay, and they would write down the development of that skill as a goal. Just like a lesson plan for a subject in school. If you say you wanted to be a doctor or an engineer, they would tell you the courses that you would have to take to get that degree. So in this case, they would decide, all right, I would need to read these books. And they would ask, what are the best books on this skill? And they would write it down. And then they would ask, what are the best audio programs to listen to for this skill? Preferably Brian Tracy audio programs, they're the best. And third of all, what courses and seminars should I attend in order to develop this skill? And finally, what can I do every day to develop this skill? How can I take action? And they would go to work and they would work on this one skill. Like a sniper rather than a machine gunner, they would work on a single skill. And it might take them a month, and it might take them 3 months, and it might take them a year, but they would work every day on that skill. And here's the magic number. The magic number was 2 hours per day, 5 days per week, 10 hours in all. 2 hours per day of personal study on a single skill, 5 days per week. Now, what we're saying is that if you want to go to the top of your field and be one of the highest paid and most successful people in life, take 10 of those hours and invest them in yourself. That's all. And this turned out to be the strategy practiced by all the top people. Now my time is almost up, so I want to leave you with 3 final points. No matter what has happened in the past, the future is unlimited. It's only limited by your imagination. And here's my 3 predictions for you. And number 1 is you are going to make more money in the future than you have ever made in your life before. The financial possibilities for you in the future are unlimited. Number 2 is you're going to have greater happiness and success in the future than you have ever had in your life today. And number 3, your greatest achievements in life lie in the future. And the future is limited only by your own imagination, so there is no limit to what you can be and do in the future. Thank you very much for the day. Thank you.